This was one of the biggest hacks of 2023 and is one of the larger attacks in recent memory. This involved a ransomware group known as Clop, which is, they pop up here and there, but this was kind of their
claim to fame.
Yeah, it was their claim to fame. This jettisoned them into the news in a lot of ways. But essentially, this was beginning in late May, a SQL injection vulnerability with a file transfer solution known as MOVEit was discovered by the company itself. They were alerted to this by one of their clients that had said they were seeing some unusual activity on their servers. But they looked into this and found that there was a very serious 0-day that had already been exploited. As this last bullet point brings up, by the time that the 0-day was even discovered, there were already over 2,000 organizations that had had their data leaked at that point. So at day 0, there was already, upwards of 11 million people that had had some sort of information stolen from them.
Part of the reason why this one is so nasty is because it's a database vulnerability and because MOVEit is so prevalent in government and contracting.
Yeah, covers
even if you don't have the software stack yourself, a contractor, subcontractor might have it and might utilize it. And if they are sharing data and some of that data involves credentials, for example, maybe the impact is only, maybe it's only the contractors initially, but then because they got credentials and those credentials are privileged, they pivot from there. Yep. And we've seen that in a couple of case studies is even though MOVEit wasn't in the organization itself, it was by proxy.
Yep, exactly. And so this was particularly, this affected both the cloud version of MOVEit, which is something that, may have been hosted through a service provider or a contractor, as well as the on-premise. So if you were running a server and you had MOVEit installed on there, that was also something that was vulnerable as long as they were public facing. Throughout this whole thing, this was not just one 0-day exploit. This was 3 separate 0-day exploits through this whole MOVEit event, essentially. And as Alex mentioned, one of the reasons this was so widespread is because this was something that was a service that was accredited to be used in pretty high security locations. The government used it. It was very widely used in legal offices and education, healthcare. You can see there's a huge list of organizations, very notable organizations in a lot of cases. But this was bad. And the day that this was discovered by the company, their suggestion outside of getting a patch out for some of their test servers was just to disable HTTP and HTTPS with any MOVEit server, which really would take it offline, but that also means that you no longer have access to that data. So if you needed something, if your daily tasks involved getting information that was in some way connected to a MOVEit server, it was either risk being infected or sit and wait and see what happens.
Kind of a wait and hope situation.
Right.